Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button because today, we are talking about something every student experiences, but few truly understand: losing focus while studying. And I am not talking about just getting a little distracted or zoning out occasionally. I am talking about that frustrating experience where you sit down to study, genuinely intending to focus, and within minutes or even seconds your mind is wandering. You are checking your phone. You are staring at the same paragraph for the 10th time without absorbing anything. Or, you are suddenly reorganizing your desk instead of doing the work. It feels like your brain is sabotaging you, and the harder you try to force focus, the more elusive it becomes. But here is what you need to understand. Losing focus is not a character flaw, it is not laziness, and it is not proof that you are not smart enough or disciplined enough. Focus problems have specific psychological, neurological, and environmental causes. And once you understand what is actually happening in your brain and body when you lose focus, you can work with your biology rather than against it. So today, we are breaking down the psychology and neuroscience of why students lose focus, the specific factors that sabotage attention, why modern student life makes focus harder than ever, and practical, science-backed strategies to actually improve your ability to concentrate. Let us start with understanding what focus actually is from a brain perspective, because this helps explain why it is so difficult to maintain. Focus or sustained attention is your brain's ability to direct and maintain mental effort on a specific task while filtering out irrelevant stimuli and competing thoughts. This requires several brain systems working together: your prefrontal cortex, which is the executive control center that decides where to direct attention and inhibits distractions; your parietal cortex, which helps maintain attention on the target; and various subcortical structures that regulate arousal and alertness. Focusing is actually one of the most demanding cognitive tasks your brain performs, and it requires significant metabolic energy. Your brain is burning glucose and oxygen at high rates when you are concentrating, which is why intense focus is genuinely exhausting. And here is the key thing: your brain did not evolve for sustained focus on abstract information like textbooks or lectures. Your attention system evolved to be constantly scanning the environment for threats, opportunities, novelty, and changes. Staying focused on one thing for hours is unnatural and difficult by design. Now let us talk about the primary neurological reasons students lose focus. Attention is limited and exhaustible. Your capacity for sustained attention operates on a finite resource model. You have a limited pool of attentional resources. And once depleted, focus becomes nearly impossible regardless of willpower or motivation. This is called ego depletion or decision fatigue in the broader literature, and it means that your ability to focus decreases throughout the day as you use it. If you have already spent hours in classes requiring attention, your brain is depleted when you sit down to study in the evening. Every decision you make, every temptation you resist, every distraction you fight drains this resource. This is why studying is easier in the morning for most people. Your attentional resources are fuller after sleep. Understanding this changes everything because it means you cannot just try harder when focus fails. You need to strategically manage your limited attentional capacity. Let us discuss the role of motivation and interest, because this is huge for students. Your brain prioritizes information that is relevant, interesting, or emotionally engaging. When you are studying something you find genuinely interesting or that connects to your goals, your brain releases dopamine, which enhances attention, memory encoding, and learning. But when you are studying material that feels boring, irrelevant, or disconnected from anything you care about, your brain is essentially asking why it should allocate precious resources to this information. There's no dopamine reward for engaging with it, so your attention naturally drifts toward more rewarding stimuli: your phone, daydreams, literally anything else. This is not a moral failing, it is your brain doing exactly what it is designed to do, which is prioritize potentially rewarding information over unrewarding information. The problem is that academic success often requires learning things that are not intrinsically interesting, which means you need strategies to artificially increase the salience and relevance of the material. Now let us talk about the elephant in the room: digital distractions and smartphones. Modern students face an attention crisis that previous generations did not, and technology is the primary culprit. Your smartphone is literally designed by teams of psychologists and engineers to be as attention-grabbing as possible. Every app uses variable ratio reward schedules, notifications, social feedback, and other psychological tricks to hijack your attention system. And here is what makes this particularly insidious. Even having your phone nearby, even on silent or face down, reduces your available cognitive capacity. Research shows that just knowing your phone is accessible creates a low-level cognitive load, as part of your brain is monitoring for it and resisting the urge to check it. This is called brain drain, and it means you are operating at reduced capacity even when you are not actively using the device. Additionally, the constant task switching and fragmented attention that phones encourage literally restructures your brain over time, making sustained focus harder. If you spend hours every day switching rapidly between apps, text, videos, and notifications, you are training your brain to prefer that mode of attention, which makes the deep, sustained focus required for studying feel intolerable and impossible. Let us discuss working memory limitations, because this is a major but often overlooked factor in focus problems. Working memory is like your brain's mental workspace. It is where you hold and manipulate information temporarily while working with it. Working memory capacity is limited. Most people can hold about 4 to 7 items at once, and when it gets overloaded, focus collapses. If you're trying to study complex material that exceeds your working memory capacity, or if you are studying while also holding other concerns in mind like deadlines, relationship stress, or financial worries, your working memory becomes overwhelmed and you cannot focus on the study material. This is also why multitasking destroys focus. You are splitting limited working memory resources across multiple tasks, which means none of them get adequate attention. Students often try to study while also texting, listening to music with lyrics, watching videos, or monitoring social media, and they wonder why they cannot focus. You are not focusing because you are asking your brain to do something neurologically impossible. Now let us talk about the role of stress and anxiety in destroying focus. When you are stressed or anxious, your amygdala, which is your brain's threat detection system, becomes hyperactive and your prefrontal cortex, which you need for focus, becomes less effective. Your brain is essentially running a background program that says there is danger and you need to be alert to threats, which makes it nearly impossible to focus on neutral information like your chemistry textbook. Additionally, stress and anxiety create intrusive thoughts, worries about grades, concerns about the future, replaying social situations, ruminating about mistakes. These thoughts compete for the limited attentional resources you need for studying. And here is the vicious cycle. When you cannot focus because of stress, you fall behind, which creates more stress, which makes focus harder. Many students are trapped in this cycle without realizing that the primary problem is not their study skills, but their anxiety and stress levels. Sleep deprivation is another massive factor that students often underestimate. When you are sleep deprived, your prefrontal cortex functions are significantly impaired. Your ability to focus, maintain attention, resist distractions, and regulate your behavior all decline dramatically. Your brain essentially starts taking microsleeps even while you are awake, which is why you find yourself reading the same sentence repeatedly without comprehension. Sleep deprivation also impairs memory consolidation, which means even if you do manage to study while tired, you will not retain the information effectively. Students often sacrifice sleep to study more. But this is counterproductive because the reduced cognitive efficiency while sleep deprived means you need much more time to accomplish less learning. An hour of focused study while well rested is worth several hours of unfocused studying while exhausted. Let us discuss the impact of poor physical health habits on focus. Your brain is an organ that requires proper fuel and conditions to function. If you are dehydrated, your cognitive performance drops. If you are eating a diet high in sugar and processed foods, you get energy crashes that destroy focus. If you are not getting any physical movement, you are missing out on the neurochemical benefits of exercise that enhance focus and learning. If you are consuming excessive caffeine, especially late in the day, you are disrupting sleep, which then impairs next-day focus. Students often treat their bodies terribly during high-stress academic periods, surviving on caffeine, junk food, and minimal sleep, and then wonder why they cannot focus. Your brain's ability to concentrate is directly tied to your physical state, and neglecting your body guarantees focus problems. Now let us talk about the psychological phenomena of procrastination and avoidance that masquerades as focus problems. Sometimes what looks like inability to focus is actually unwillingness to engage with uncomfortable emotions the task triggers. If the material is difficult and makes you feel stupid, if the stakes feel too high and trigger anxiety, if the task reminds you of past failures, or if you have perfectionist tendencies that make starting feel overwhelming, your brain will generate focus problems as an avoidance mechanism. You will find yourself getting distracted, feeling restless, suddenly needing to do other tasks, anything to avoid the discomfort of engaging with the challenging material. This is not conscious, it is your brain protecting you from psychological distress. But the result is that you avoid the work, which increases stress and makes the problem worse. Addressing this requires identifying and working with the underlying emotional resistance, not just trying harder to focus. Let us discuss learning environment and context, because where and how you study massively impacts focus. If you study in bed, your brain associates that space with sleep, not focus. If you study in a chaotic, distracting environment with noise and interruptions, your brain is constantly pulled away from the task. If you have visual clutter around you, it creates cognitive load. If your study space is uncomfortable, too hot, too cold, poor lighting, uncomfortable seating, your physical discomfort competes for attention. And if you do not have a consistent study routine or location, your brain has not built the contextual associations that facilitate focus. Creating a dedicated study environment that is only used for studying helps train your brain to enter focus mode when you enter that space. Another critical factor is task structure and clarity. If you sit down to study without a clear plan, just vaguely intending to study for your exam, your brain lacks the structure it needs to engage. But if you have specific, concrete objectives, like complete Chapter 3 practice problems or summarize the key concepts from Lecture 5, your brain has a clear target for attention. Vague tasks create decision paralysis and make focus harder, while specific tasks provide clarity that facilitates engagement. So what actually helps students maintain focus? First, work with your brain's natural limitations rather than fighting them. Use techniques like the Pomodoro method, 25 minutes of focused work followed by a 5-minute break. This respects your limited sustained attention capacity and provides regular opportunities to rest and reset. Second, eliminate or dramatically reduce digital distractions. Put your phone in another room, use website blockers, delete social media apps from your phone during study periods, or use apps that lock you out of distractions. This is not optional. You cannot maintain focus with your distraction machine nearby. Third, optimize your study timing for when your attentional resources are highest, which is typically morning or early afternoon for most people. Fourth, improve sleep as a non-negotiable foundation for focus. Aim for 7 to 9 hours, keep a consistent schedule, and prioritize sleep over late-night cramming. Fifth, address stress and anxiety through therapy, mindfulness, exercise, or other evidence-based approaches. You cannot focus effectively when your nervous system is dysregulated. Sixth, take care of your physical health. Stay hydrated, eat regularly with balanced nutrition, move your body daily, and limit caffeine, especially in the afternoon and evening. Seventh, make material more engaging by connecting it to your goals, teaching it to someone else, creating practice tests, or finding ways to make it personally relevant. 8th, use active learning strategies like practice problems, self-testing, and summarization rather than passive rereading, because active engagement requires and builds focus. 9th, create a dedicated study environment that is free from distractions and associated only with focused work. And 10th, be strategic about when you study what safe difficult, focus-intensive material for when your attentional resources are highest, and easier tasks for when you are more depleted. If this video helped you understand why you lose focus, please give it a thumbs up and share it with other students who struggle with this. Drop a comment. What is your biggest focus challenge when studying and what has helped you? And remember, difficulty focusing does not mean you are lazy or incapable. It means you are human with a brain that has limitations and needs that must be respected. Work with your biology, not against it. And you will find that focus becomes much more accessible. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.